right. So much. Cue it up. Trash place.
Let somebody just live there.
All right, welcome everyone. It is December 2nd. This is the 9 a.m. board briefing. The Board of County Commissioners, please let the record reflect that Commissioners Jordan, Waldrop, French, and Kearns are present. Commissioner CUNY is out on county business. We're going to lead off today with Under Sheriff Kevin Ritchie.
Good morning. Good morning. So the first grant opportunity I have is we were awarded the Financial Fraud and Identity Theft Grant. It's for fiscal year 25 to 27. It's $623,000 split between both years. You can see it funds like 88% of one of our analysts. Some of the money goes to the prosecutor's office, about 60% for one attorney and 6% for another one. And then we use $20,000 for SPD for some training stuff. So we're just requesting that the board allows us to accept these funds for this project.
Any questions? Seems pretty standard.
All right, the next one is the Washington State Traffic Commission Target Zero High Visibility. What does the use stand for? Emphasis award. I knew it. Yeah. I had this all down too. Anyway, this is for October 1, 25 through September 30th, 26, and it's $94,500. And it's for agencies for overtime conducting high visibility enforcement and patrols or target zero priorities in the county. And there's no match required. The next ones are annual RSO address and residency verification subaward, and I think this comes through Spokane Police. I think they're the recipients for the subaward, but we get 60,000, or they get $60,000, and it's for address verification for our RSO program, and it funnels down to our deputies or our detectives who go out and verify addresses. And then the last thing is the Spokane Valley Mall lease agreement with, and this is for the Central Valley Scope Station that's out at the Spokane Valley Mall. As you can see, it's $0. I think we renewed it, and the idea is to have it about 17 years. It's been a very successful location, so the longer we can keep the partnership going, the better. And this is just the renewal of the lease.
All right, any questions? All right,
That's it. Thank you.
nicely done.
Grant's
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you. All right.
All right, then we're joined on Zoom now by Dr. Veena Singh to talk about an agreement for neuropathology consultation services.
Yes,
Take
I
it
can
away.
do that. I have actually two agreements to put before you. One is just a renewal of a clinical training affiliation agreement with Whitworth University. This is one of the local universities that we work with for our college internship program. We had put an agreement in place with them a few years ago, but that has expired now. So we're just trying to renew that. We have a prospective intern that would like to start with us in the January, February timeframe. So we thought we'd better get that agreement in place for that intern. And we have a number of these, as you guys know, so I didn't know if you had any questions for me on this one.
Any
but
questions?
I'd like to ask for your approval to renew that.
We're
And
good.
then, okay, good. And then the second one is, this is a new agreement to us. We occasionally have cases in which we would like a specialist to examine the brain. This might occur in cases where someone has dementia and we're trying to figure out which type of dementia, for example, or if the person has subtle injuries that we would like to have better documented by a specialist. So a neuropathologist is a specialist who specializes in examining the brain and nervous tissue. We currently send, these cases come up maybe between 3 and 5 times a year. And currently we send cases to a university in the Midwest, but King County Medical Examiner's Office has recently started up a program. They have hired a neuropathologist who is starting a consultation service. And so we'd like to put an agreement in place with King County just to have that person as a backup to us if for some reason we can't ship to our normal place. So the second agreement is the consultation service services agreement. Basically, it doesn't obligate us to send anything to them, but it just lays out the circumstances in which she will accept a brain, what services they're going to offer us, and the price for those services.
Any questions? Nope. All right, sounds great.
Okay, great, thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Aaron Gertel. We got Aaron also on Zoom. Aaron's gonna talk about the setting of the 2026 non-fair rental fee schedule for the Fair and Expo Center. Take it
Good
away,
morning.
Aaron.
Good morning, commissioners. Yeah, we'll get this presentation going. Okay, first I'd like to highlight one of our large capital projects we completed this year, and then we'll segue into the non-fair rental rates. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so that capital project we completed in May was our campground restroom shower project. Next slide, please. These are the previous structure, photos, very glamorous, very lovely. If you wanted to take a shower, you had to venture into the grounds to the indoor arena or to the ag complex. So, next slide. We have this beautiful facility that now offers men's, women's restroom, two ADA individual restrooms, and then 4 individual shower rooms, and also quite the mechanical closet to run this. This project was just a little over 1.1 million. And the breakdown on that funding was we received 550,000 from REIT 1, 250,000 grant from the Washington State Department of Ag. From the Fair and Expo Capital Fund, we kicked in a little over 147,000. And then we also received from the general fund 155,000. So we've had some large camping events, including the fair and the Renaissance Fair, a cycle celebration. And this is a huge asset to us as we grow our camping business year round, but also attracting large, rally type of camping events. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of your support and helping us make this happen. Any questions?
Looks great.
Okay. Next slide, please. Maybe. I don't see it, but I'll wing it. Do you guys see a slide?
It's loading.
It's
Oh,
low.
okay. There we go. Okay, we're going to talk about our 2026 non-fair rental rates. So this is regards to all the business that takes place out here during the year that's outside of the fair. Next slide, please. We are proposing a 5% non-fair rental rate increase on all building rentals, services, rental items, horse stalls, and parking fees. Last year, we did do an increase of 5% on everything except for the building rentals. We did not increase those last year because the year prior we had a 7% increase. So we're back this year with 5% on everything. As you can understand, our costs are going up on everything that we do out here and to maintain and operate the facility at the level that we do. This is necessary along with our business plan and also planning for future capital projects. Keeps us in line with everything. We do compare rates with other local and regional facilities such as Kootenai County, Snohomish, Clark County, Grant County, and then the convention center and other area rental facilities. So we're still quite competitive and fair for the market. So we're requesting your approval on our 2026 rates next week on the agenda, December 9th. Next slide. I'm just giving you a sample here of what some of those increases look like. Pretty, nominal. in the big picture of things, you'll see some of our rental items and horse stalls, they did not go up that much. Next slide, please. Again, more rental items. I did unfortunately leave out a slide with the actual building rentals, but for example, Bay One, which is our largest building out here, that 5% increase is going to add about $126 per day to the promoter's rent on that building. So again, not very steep, but helps us keep our budget in good shape. So, next slide. Any questions?
Any questions for Aaron? Commissioner French?
Have you talked to any of your users or vendors to see what the increase is gonna do to them?
We have talked to some, they've all been notified. Really everyone seems to be pretty understanding about it's necessary, and there was a long time there weren't any increases out here, so they know that we've been trying to catch up.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, great. Well, great to see everyone. Happy holidays.
We'll
Thank
see you. Thank you. Okay, next up, Doug Chase.
Hi.
About golf course fees.
Morning. Yes, we are here to speak about golf courses and some grant awards. And I believe we'll start off with golf, and Trish Jewett, our finance manager, is going to go through the presentation, and so we will work here. We're proposing our 2026 golf rates. And there we go.
All right, thank you for your time today to go over our 2026 proposed golf rates. Next slide, please. As part of the capital planning process, revenue and expense is projected for 6 years. The golf fund started this year with nearly 3.4 million in fund balance. Projected ending fund balance this year is 3.7 million. The revenue forecast for the 6-year period is based off of 120,000 rounds. The average rounds played in 2025 to 2023 was 114,000 rounds. The courses have seen a steady increase in rounds over the last few years, with this year of 122,000 rounds being the highest on record. 2026 operating expenses are projected to increase about 7% compared to this year. This same metric is used to estimate the following 5 years. Considering capital improvement spending and a 20-year bond obligation, a rate increase is recommended to support operations and to continue to add to support future years' capital expenditures. The 2026 proposed rate increase is anticipated to net 370,000 more in green fee revenue compared to this year. The next several years are mapped out, indicating a yearly rate increase may be necessary to not only cover increasing annual operating costs and capital improvements, but to continue to add to fund balance to provide funding for future year capital improvements, to support the multi-year capital plan, and to pay for the bond issuance costs. Each year, the projections will be revisited and updated as necessary. We are continually looking ahead with the goal of self-supporting operations. Next slide, please. Prior to proposing a fee increase, golf courses in the area were surveyed. While most did not yet have 2026 rates available, many indicated that green fees are likely to go up a few dollars next year. The city of Spokane has proposed a $5 increase to most green fees. In most cases, the county is below the average, indicating our proposed 2026 rates are very competitive. If a golf course did not yet have 26 rates available, the 25 rates are listed and noted here. The blue highlight is our proposed 2026 rates. Green highlight are 2025 rates. This slide shows regular green fee rates and discount pass rates. Next slide, please. This slide shows market data for multi-play passes, season passes, and loyalty passes. The combined average indicates we are 13% below market. The county's last fee increase was in 2024 with a $3 to $5 increase and a rate simplification. Prior to that, a $1 increase occurred in 2023. Next slide, please. Based on the rate survey data, here is the 2026 rate markup indicating proposed changes. The primary drivers of the fee increase are to keep up with the rising cost of operations and ever increasing capital needs, including the 20-year bond payment, while balancing our rates with the local market. The proposed rates are projected to cover operating expenses and contribute towards equipment needs and capital improvements while continuing to be competitive within our market and a great value for the product we deliver. A $4 increase is proposed for most green fees. A $10 increase is proposed to the pre-book rate. This rate is primarily utilized by out-of-town visitors and still very competitive compared to larger cities. Increased discount passes, $10. Increased loyalty pass from $300 to $375. The adult season pass is proposed at $2,800. This equates to 54 rounds to break even. The average adult season pass holder played 72 times this year. 13 adult season passes were sold this year.
A lot of time.
The senior season pass is proposed at $2,700. This equates to 52 rounds to break even. The average senior season pass holder played 95 times this year. 29 senior passes were sold this year. Increased junior season passes from $250 to $275. This equates to 15 rounds to break even. The average junior season pass holder played 22 times. 206 junior season passes were sold in 2025. Proposed to increase private cart trail fees by $75 to $375 and the daily 18 or 9-hole rate by $4. Next slide, please. Yes.
Before you leave that slide, so the military discount is going from $20 to $30.
Yes, that's the proposed.
That's a 50% increase. Them, well, nobody else on that schedule has seen that kind of increase.
Well, the regular discount pass is proposed to increase $10 too. So both of those discount passes were proposed to be increased by $10. It's still a significant savings compared to the regular discount pass.
It's over 50% below everyone else pays $75 for that same benefit that they're receiving for $30, as we've proposed it, but certainly that's why we're before you. May or may not be acceptable.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Next slide.
No, I get what Commissioner French is saying. I mean, yes, it's still 50% less, but it's the proportional jump, it's much larger. It's a 50% jump. The other one's 65 to 75. Yes, it's the same dollar amount, but the percentage of increase is much smaller.
Yes, that is correct.
Military on a fixed income. They don't, yeah. Anyway.
Question,
Yeah, go for it.
can you tweak that to be a little less steep?
Absolutely. That's why we're here. You
Let's do
have
that.
you have that authority.
Yeah, let's keep commensurate with everybody else. I mean, you know, we're punishing the wrong people. Yes.
We don't want to punish anyone.
I can tell you is that I'm getting hammered. And that doesn't feel good coming from a county that has such high regard for our veterans. Yeah.
What do you think? So 20 to 30, 20 to,
I don't know, it'll be even commensurate with somebody else up there. You know, I'm not the expert in this area.
you know, think we could calculator
Yeah.
out? Throw a number out now.
Well, I mean, 10% increase would be 22.
That could
That'd be
$20.
commensurate with what we're doing with the majority of the other people.
I think it was just commensurate with the discount pass is what we looked at, but we can make that 22. We can make that any amount that you feel is appropriate based on the data.
I feel more comfortable at 22.
I can do with that.
Sure. Very good.
Golf Advisory Committee met on November.
Sorry, I have a question. What does the discount pass get you?
So you buy the discount pass for $75 or in this case 22 for the military folks, and then you get discounted green fees. So you would then pay, let's say $42 for an adult or $40 for a senior,
Okay,
as opposed to the regular rate, which would be 52 for adult and senior. So you're saving $10 around with that discount pass.
so that might be for someone who doesn't want to do the season pass because that's a big commitment.
Right.
But they do want to golf there, so they know they'll be there enough to make up that difference.
Yes, folks determine how many times they're gonna play and then buy the best pass for those number of rounds they anticipate
Got it.
playing.
Thank you.
Yeah, they can recoup the cost of that fairly quick. 7, 8 rounds with the regular one and 2 to 3 with the military one. Yeah. We're ahead of the game. And we like that because it encourages the folks to come and play more and they recoup their
I know, that's
investment.
like me, whenever I buy a pass,
Yes.
I have to fully utilize
Absolutely.
the value of that.
Exactly.
It's a good marketing
Yeah.
tool. And the loyalty one is just folks who have been there for many, many years or who have done.
It just is for folks that want to play more.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's really best for folks that are playing at least 30 to 40 times
Got
a
it.
year.
It gives them a greater discount on each round.
So they're then paying $33 as opposed to 42 or 52 for their green fees, but they've invested the $375 initially.
You're gonna need to golf a lot more to recoup that, and that's what we.
You guys get that,
we wanna
you get
learn.
that money up front, so that's good for
Certainly, so.
knowing that you have some stability with your just cash flow.
The Golf Advisory Committee met on November 20th to review and discuss the proposed 2026 golf rates and voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of support on the proposed rate schedule. With the proposed fee schedule, the golf fund is estimated to cover operating expenses and contribute towards capital improvements and equipment needs, while resulting in a contribution to the Golf Reserve Fund to assist with future year capital equipment acquisition and or improvement projects necessary to sustain golf course facilities. Our next step would be to bring before the board for formal consideration adoption of the 2026 rates as an item on the December 9th board legislative agenda. Next
I
slide.
adjusted today.
Yes. With the adjustment, thank you.
Okay, is everybody all right with that? Okay,
Very good. Thank you. All right, that's what we have for golf, and we've got several grants that we've been fortunate to successfully compete for, and Jonathan is prepared. I think we have a little presentation on those. We go through those before you find that one.
All right, as mentioned, County Parks has been awarded 3 grants by their Recreation Conservation Office. 2 from the the Nova Fund, that's the non-highway off-road vehicle activities fund, and one from the recreational trail fund. One of these grants is for a study to look at utilities out at the Airway Heights ORV Park. One is for trail maintenance out at Liberty Lake Regional Park, and one is for our ongoing education and enforcement grant. That is a county parks wide program we've had year after year. Slide, please. That's so the first Nova grant we received was for the Airway Heights ORV Park Utility Study. This is a study that follows on the coattails of the master plan. It was completed in November of 2021. And we came to the board last year in October, and then received a resolution authorizing our application in October. The award amount is $75,000, and there is no match requirement. There also is, aside from completing the utility study per the agreement, there is no further obligation. So get the money, do the study, that's that. One of the reasons we are pursuing this is to follow some of the directives that were in the master plan, one of which is a revenue generation through possible development of a RV or camp site on the property. So that is one of the reasons we would like to do that. We will need to hire a consultant to perform this study, however. So would like to accept these funds and do the study. Any questions on that grant?
Any questions?
Excellent. One other item you might be interested in, RV Park is operated by an outside operator, and so all M&O costs are taken care of outside of the county parks budget. It's taken care of by the operator. So it's a good deal. County parks. One other thing that I might mention is RV Park has received about $5.18 million in grant funding since it began receiving funding in 1985. And the county has provided about a $768,000 match for development and acquisition and maintenance grants. Next slide, please. The regional trail program. Oh, all right. I have my slides on order. Next grant is another Nova grant. This is for an ongoing program that we have at the county. This funds 2 full-time seasonal park aide positions. Those folks will go into the parks, engage with park users, educate park users on appropriate park behavior. And as in addition to this full-time position, we'll be purchasing 2 e-bikes to extend the range of these employees, along with we'll be funding a vehicle lease and some program materials, pamphlets, educational materials, things of that nature. This grant briefing happened in October, again, of last year, and the resolution authorizing application happened later on the 22nd of October. We have a tight time frame to sign this agreement. We're at a point where we need to sign the agreement by the 9th, which is next week. So So what we would ask is that we bring a resolution for you to consider next week. And then we will ask Scott Simmons to sign the agreement. That is the resolution that we are bringing to you today to authorize Scott to sign these agreements. Backing up a little bit, the award amount for this program is $159,175. The match is a non-cash cash match made up of our park ranger salary, park ranger fuel costs, volunteer hours, and various other volunteer activities that make up a match of $185,412. It is a program that is very well appreciated by all of our park goers, and we have a lot of participation from volunteer organizations in supporting this grant. Any questions on that grant?
Scott Simmons. You're muted, Scott.
How about that?
We can hear you.
The grant for the off-road vehicle, you may recall when we were discussing the REIT capital priorities for the commissioners, there was initially match that was requested for, and after Doug's team mentioned, after they reviewed it closer, there is no match required, so it's not on the REIT approved to obligate the county to do anything further than just the study. So I just wanted to reaffirm that and connect back to when we had this conversation during the 6-year CIP.
Thank you.
Excellent. Just one piece of information is the Parks Department has received this award, this grant award consistently since the early 2000s, and as far back as the 1970s. So it is grant funding that state wants to continue providing us, and it's something that is a program that really does benefit Park Department and users of county parks. Next slide, please. Go back to, or miss the slide there. Right here, yes, excellent. The final grant is the Recreational Trails Program grant. We briefed the board back in early October and received a resolution authorizing our application on the 22nd. We had asked for $60,000 for this grant program, to fund a youth crew to come to Liberty Lake Regional Park and perform various maintenance duties. We received $19,000 for that effort. We would still like to pursue that, even though it's a smaller time frame. Any maintenance that we can fund in our parks is much needed. And I think it's a good experience for the youth crew as well. I was speaking with the youth crew administrator, said that they don't make it to this side of the state very often, and they were excited for this opportunity. Our match is a 20% match for this $19,000, and that'll be a force account match of our labor, and also for some materials that may be needed by the youth crew to complete this grant work. Again, there is no long-term obligation outside of completing the trail maintenance per the agreement. And that is all I have for these grants. If you'll go forward 2 slides. Thank you. We have concluded in the grant briefing packet a resolution to authorize Mr. Simmons to sign these agreements. And so we will be submitting that for the 12/9 legislative briefing. legislative meeting for your consideration, and hope that you will authorize Scott to sign those agreements and we can accept this funding.
All right, any questions? I think we're good. Thank you. All right, Tim.
Good morning.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat.
This isn't as exciting as parks and golf, but might look familiar. Every year our office goes through, identify warrants that have been outstanding for over 12 months. And we bring forward a resolution to have those the warrants canceled. That doesn't mean that we don't still owe the money. It just means we cancel the warrants that are out there. And we send letters to people every year trying to get them to come connect with us so we can issue a new warrant to them. But right now we have in front of you there from the payroll, the salary fund, there's about $350 in outstanding warrants. From the claims fund, just a normal accounts payable, there's about 35,000. And then there's also just over 1,400 that is related to Fair and Expo. Those funds per RCW, when we do this cancel, they actually go back to the Fair and Expo fund. And those would not then be issued. But the others, we maintain the funds. And if somebody comes forward based on one of our letters, or they find an old warrant that might say, shoot, I forgot to cash this, we maintain those funds as a liability, and when presented, we will create a new warrant fund. So this is just the annual process to cancel the existing warrants.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. What's that, Gina? Okay. Next up, we will be joined by the County Treasurer, Mike Bowles. See, we have John with us, John Christina. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I believe Treasurer Bowles is on his way to Olympia to conduct some business over there.
Oh, he's all, oh, is he? Oh, okay.
So
You are standing in today for.
Okay,
So, oh, here he is.
Oh. Wow.
yeah.
I guess you well, Chair. Don't move.
Yeah, now you win. Belly up to the bar with us here. All right, you're up.
Where did you start?
Just an introduction.
Oh.
I told him you were in Olympia, so.
Started by just everything down. I was across the hall. So anyway, Mike Bolts, County Treasurer, John Christina, our Bank and Investment Officer. So we have adopted a practice, I think about a decade ago, where we bring the investment policy before the board, not for your approval, but for your concurrence, and it's part of just a transparency and accountability. We have adopted that. Wait, is this the second time we've been through? Third time? Anyway, so when we have, other than minor changes, we'll bring it to the board for your concurrence. The changes aren't very significant in this one, but we are gonna, they're enough where we're gonna resubmit it to the Association of Public Treasurers of US and Canada for our second award. We submit the previous version, run a national award on it. This is kind of a step in the process to make sure that the board, as the highest legislative authority in Spokane County, is involved and aware of what we are doing. For those of you who may or may not know, the Finance Committee consists of myself as chair, Auditor Dalton, and the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, Commissioner Cuney. All two of them submitted some changes, which we accepted all of their recommendations and clarifications and updates on the final on the final version of it. We adopted it unanimously. Matter of fact, we were so gung-ho on adopting it that we had to do it again because we didn't post it. We got overly excited and did it at the same meeting we had a hearing, which is fine if we would have noticed it appropriately. But I think Matt kind of threw the red flag or the yellow flag at us and said, try it again. So we did it again, and we adopted it a second time unanimously and officially. So that's kind of the history. I think the biggest change in this is we changed the maximum maturity from 5 years to 5.5 years, which just gives us a little bit more flexibility in the longer end. of the spectrum, it's still reasonable and prudent, and we're not going out, 7-10 years on this money that, maybe needed, sooner than that. We've added, some internal, external audit language, and accounting methods under internal controls, which is kind of a technical, twist on that little technical addition. And then, added training, education, and the business continuity, factors, which is becoming an increasingly big issue in the treasurer's office, as I discussed during our budget hearing. John's on, I brought him out of the bullpen. What are you, 72, John? I don't want to out you. Yes. So he was happily retired, and we got in a pinch, and I called him up, said, "Hey, what are you doing for a couple of years?" And so John agreed to come out. So we're looking, as again, we discussed it in the budget with moving Mr. Hernandez into that slot for longer term or intermediate term. And then minor, of course, Scrivener errors, the grammar and the punctuation, which you always have when you update things. So with that, any questions, comments, concerns? Going, gone.
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're running out of here before anything comes back.
If you think of anything, you know where to find John.
Aren't you supposed to be in Olympia?
Right, we're a little ahead of schedule. Tori Peterson is, Tori's on Zoom.
I'm on.
Okay, looks like Tori's got a couple of items, so take it away.
Yes, I am briefing you on 2 more of our agreements with MCOs, which is part of our HCA work to allow us to bill Medicaid from our care in our detention center. So one is Wellpoint in Washington. It's a provider agreement. This has really been confusing. There's up to 3 agreements per MCO. So some were just placeholders, there's facility agreements. So just to let you know, both of these have been vetted, excuse me, by risk management and legal. The other one is Community Health Plan of Washington, and it's a facility agreement. So you've already signed agreements with both of these providers. However, this is the next step in the process. Any questions on those?
Questions for Tori? Nope, think we're good.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. All right, Devin Kurta. Victim Witness Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. I'm here for item I, which is a request for you all to sign a resolution that'll be on the docket for next week. That's a memorandum of understanding with partners, families, and children. This is a program that we use the county's Victim Assistance Fund to pay about half of an FTE. And it provides essentially a specific child legal advocate that provides educational and emotional supports to child victims of crimes and their families. That's a very particularized victim, and this has been a program that has been running since the 90s. And essentially, it's a request to renew funding. I believe this year the negotiated increase was about 5% from last year, which is very fair, reasonable. They provide a great service, and it'll be for your approval next Tuesday.
We're good.
And I'm here for item J as well.
Go for it. Take it away.
So item J is another resolution that will, subject to your approval, be on the docket for next Tuesday as well. This comes from the board's request from a budget planning meeting last month, I believe, regarding an additional Superior Court position. And there's been discussions about the need for that position. Part of the agenda packet includes the 2020 Judicial Needs Assessment. That was the last judicial needs assessment conducted by our state Supreme Court and the Office of Administrative Courts. At that time, the assessment determined that Spokane County needed 23.93 judicial officers. Currently, we, as of 2024, have 13 Superior Court judges and then 8 Superior Court commissioners. So we're at 21 judicial officers. The resolution before you is a request to amend the RCW because right now the RCW doesn't give you an option. The RCW says Spokane County shall have 13 Superior Court judges. So even if this body tomorrow wanted to add a judge, it couldn't. And so what this resolution does is requests the legislature to amend the RCW to add another judge, so a 14 Superior Court judge. Now, in keeping with the precedent of the amendments to the RCW, as well as kind of the unfunded mandate logic, if the RCW were to be amended by the legislature next year or the year after, the resolution requests there be a proviso that says only subject to approval of the board. So essentially, the game plan would be, here's a 14th judge. Now Spokane County go back to you, and then you all would have the discretion to determine when and how that Superior Court position.
Any concerns? Commissioner French?
So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that this position and all the other associated costs to it are part of the budget for next year.
No, this has not been budgeted for next year. This position, the 14th position has not been budgeted.
So, we've just budgeted the 13th position.
This is a request or the legislature to.
Got it. No, now I'm up with you. Never mind.
There's language in there that says until it's funded.
Yeah.
So what if the well, I mean, even if the proviso language about subject, it doesn't make it in, we wouldn't be required to add that 14th, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's our interpretation. And again, the legislative history of this RCW, Pierce County, King County, Spokane County, they always have that kind of category catch-all of subject to the full board's approval, but also there's the unfunded mandate question. So I don't think they could force you to provide that judge without your consent.
All right.
And I'm just thinking about 13th position, which that this is 14th.
This was also at the request of the Spokane County Bar Association.
It'll be on your docket next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have George Dahl for a couple of items. Is he on his way? Okay. All right.
Yeah, good timing. Well, thanks for having us this morning. We got a couple of updates. We're gonna go ahead and start out with Chris McKinney, updating on some funding shifts in our programming.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry. Get in here quick. Chris McKinney, Homeless Services Program Manager. Just a quick, I would argue kind of logistical update for these funds. If you guys remember, we can skip to slide 3. Not sure it's been so much. Resolution back in August 19th allocated a total of $13,729,329 total to be allocated towards homeless services programs. I'm not asking for that number to be shifted, rather we allocated a certain amount, about $1 million for document recording fees and about $12.5 million for the CHG funds. As you guys know, we're more of a restricted funding source. Next slide, please. That's just a little bit of background there. 2 of those projects in the homelessness prevention funding source are what's called diversion projects. So these are more flexible models. It's not your traditional homeless prevention. It's someone that goes and comes in and says, hey, I need some very specific, maybe mom and dad, maybe brother, sister intervention. And so while these are eligible for homelessness prevention funding, what we've noticed now that we've got great access to data and that we're looking at these performance metrics for these projects, that some of these performance metrics don't really jive well with a diversion model. So I'd like to move those funds over to document recording fees to free up that same amount of funds for the homelessness prevention projects that we can just fund starting on 7/1, and those would be true homelessness prevention projects. So really can serve more folks with those, and then open up that flexible funding source for document recording fees. So we go to the next slide there. My recommendation for the board, and of course, coming before the board, because the total amount was of course at $13 million, that's remaining the same, but the board approved HCD to allocate that $1 million, and I'm raising that by $360,000. So the resolution says specifically the document recording number that we allocated. I'd like to raise that by the number of those 2 contracts and then reduce the homelessness prevention contracts and just reallocate those funds in a couple months with our next RFP. Sorry to fly through that. Is there any questions about any of that?
So just give me an example of what you mean about like, for instance, the Homeward Bound program, the VOA, that's when Volunteers of America works, they get referrals from different agencies of somebody who maybe has a home or somewhere that they're from, and they need assistance getting back to where they have stable housing.
Absolutely.
And so that's been a really successful program, but you're saying that the funding source doesn't really match?
Yeah, so these two projects, we've got Homeward Bound with VOA and the SNAP diversion, very different, very different intervention types. Imagine someone going home or going towards a place that's not Spokane County. We can't track those metrics, returning to permanent housing, employment and income growth. And
Once they're gone, there's no way to track.
And so that kind of results in a less than favorable look in the data for that intervention type when they were very successful and they completed their task. Same for SNAP and diversion. While they're remaining in Spokane County, it's usually diversion is to subvert them from entering the home.
It's like paying somebody's 1 month rent.
Exactly.
To stay in their home, or maybe a car payment so they can get to work.
Yes, ma'am. So we would see obviously obviously a touch point there at HMIS, but we wouldn't see any great results coming from that project, and that would indicate that they weren't successful, which is not necessarily true. They were just diverted from the system before they got in. So it's actually more than successful in our view. So this just allows us to go into a different funding source. We still track the applicable metrics. We just take away those particular metrics, and we can fund some other projects that really do have these metrics applicable to them.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
For the unobligated funds, you said that your plan would be to reallocate them in the next cycle. Is there a way to reallocate them sooner, like under the previous RFP somehow to a different project that was already proposed, that was highly scored?
We've done that in the past and it hasn't been as effective. It's just been kind of additional funding available, as opposed to trying to find another way to address a need within the system. Usually there's the lag time between when we have these unobligated funds and when we did the initial RFP, there's been some change in the community. So when we think about kind of the city's current model that they're utilizing, that was in place when we did the initial allocation of these funds. So in this case, we'd like to put it into a new priority to see if we can address those rising needs. Certainly, we know with the continuum of care programs, the adjustments there, that will have some other needs. Communities, this could be an opportunity to be able to help out there.
We're also operating on a 2-year funding cycle, as y'all probably remember. And so that allows us to look at the performance, look at the spend out of other projects, and identify gaps in the system that we need to fill with that next supplemental RFP. So it allows us to kind of look at where those funds are needed, as opposed to putting them into the previous RFPs awards.
One more follow-up. So what are the types of programs then that you can use the CHG prevention dollars? Like, what are the best types of programs that you can track those metrics?
So that would be what I would call a traditional homelessness prevention project, which is I have 30 days until my pending eviction. I call the provider and I say, here's proof that I am housing unstable within 30 days. If you pay X amount of dollars, I will remain stable in my house. Diversion projects typically, or I shouldn't say typically, they do not have someone who is losing their housing. Typically, they're already unhoused and they're looking to go somewhere pretty quickly. Homeward Bound's an interesting model. It doesn't really apply there. But yeah, I mean, this would be, we've got, I think, 6 or 7 projects that do enter into coordinated entry. The household household has a identified need. They're diverted or they're referred, I should say, to the applicable project. Family Promise for families, SNAP for singles. They case manage them to keep their housing. They hold them on for 3 to 6 months, and then they exit when they're stable.
So we couldn't use those monies for surge beds right now for cold weather shelter.
Not these funds in particular. And if you remember that one carve out of CHG, most of CHG can absolutely do that. The homelessness prevention portion of CHG is very restrictive.
Yeah, there was a there was a news story yesterday, there were several news stories about just how many beds we have and surge capacity, so I don't know if you've been in communication with the city or, I know we have some dollars that we're putting towards those surge beds, so have you been in conversation about any additional needs there?
Not any additional needs. I don't think those came up from the city, but we're obviously, here to support, to provide funding where we can. I think we're providing a good foundational amount of funds to those emergency shelters that we allocated as part of this resolution here in the city, of course, to the scatter site model, which seems to be working well. So until we see where that gap really is throughout the winter, it'd be hard to know exactly those funds. My recommendation, of course, before the board to next week would be just deobligate that amount on the screen from the CHG funding source and obligate it from the document reporting fee funding source, Fund 123. And I'll reallocate those funds for the next year. Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Brittany.
I'm here for affordable housing, so Brittany Reed, Affordable Housing Program Manager. I'm bringing to you an amendment for the Marabou Townhomes project. In 2019, they were awarded some funds, which actually didn't get executed until 2022 for 900K of our document recording affordable housing dollars. And they came back in 2024 during our RFP and asked for some gap funding for an additional 900K. That amendment was never brought to you guys, just hadn't been executed and drafted yet. So that's what I'm bringing to you now. This is adding 7 additional units restricted to our original units restricted. So this project 72 total units will have 36 units at 60% AMI or below. So there's nothing too crazy here. It's just asking your approval to execute this amendment and give them those additional dollars to finish off this project.
So the fund's already been approved, it's just the contract.
The funds have been preliminary awarded by the HCDAC and they had not yet been brought to y'all for approval. So that's kind of what I'm doing today, is that as well as the amendments for legislative next week if approved today.
Any questions, concerns?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Justin Johnson. You've got a couple of items before us today, so take it away.
Morning, commissioners. This is our follow-up to the annual contract amendment cycle that usually follows the state, so I'm gonna buckle down and get through this really quickly as soon as I can. A lot of the contracts for review today are going to be follow up to the July following the state fiscal year 2026 cycle. So these are just amendments. The state has a tendency of updating their contracts, either new ones, but it just reflects the state fiscal year. So the funding is already been approved by the board in the July 1st new contracts, but for the January 1st, they make some adjustments for those amendments going into the end of July 2026, and then it's really to 2027. So this is why you won't see many numbers associated with the HCA. I'll give a short update if there was any changes, but ultimately the board's already approved the funds. Next slide. Yes. So as we look at the HCA contract, again, this covers the 6 counties, primarily for the crisis services, as well as the non-Medicaid funding. This includes outpatient services, SUD services, inpatient for non-Medicaid individuals, and then the supportive services for transition of care for the Medicaid individuals. Those contracts with the Medicaid providers for their members under crisis are separate. They're not part of the HCA contract, but they're in conjunction or in alignment with it. So you'll see those contracts as well being renewed with they're actually continuous, but they are coming up for potential amendment as we look towards next year as well, with some changes with 1813. That was a law that changed some of the crisis system. We don't know what that looks like yet. We're still working through it, but that is the other part of the crisis system. So this HCA contract covers the non-Medicaid and all that other supportive work that goes along with it. Next slide. These will affect, again, the sub-delegated work that the HCA passes through us. Here's a list of some of the providers. This is specific to the HCA contract. As you may see here, there are providers that are not listed that we contract as part of mental health sales tax and local tax. Again, that's not a part of this. We'll talk about those later, but this is some of these services include again, outpatient services, peer support services as they apply to individuals in higher education, for those that are experiencing behavioral health conditions in but need educational joint support. There's also Recovery Navigator program for those in the community, the homeless outreach and stabilization treatment program. So just a whole host of different programs that support the additional work that we do with crisis and the mental sales tax work in Spokane County. Next slide. In addition, we're also seeing minor amendments for the DD contracts. No major changes in that. In fact, this year we wanted to see status quo as possible. So you'll see these amendments, which will continue the agreement into the end of June 30th. We'll expect another state cycle for the state fiscal year 2027, beginning July 1st. But no major changes there. There was one addition. The state did identify that there was a new provider. I'll talk about that in another slide. So we'll be asking the board to approve a RFP that went out for continuous enrollment. That's part of our state contract, but for the purposes of the overall community inclusion and employment support, no major changes. Slide. This includes no major or significant changes to some of the work we're doing with sub-delegated agreements with SRHD. This provides education and support for individuals with ID and DD who need that additional engagement in the community, as well as the education, as we recognize their need to engage in services, access funds necessary to support benefits that are needed to maintain either their employment and or their health and wellness. This contract with SRHD is going to continue, so it's part of the overall DD package, but we're asking the board to also improve those as we look to January 1st. Next slide. Jumping into the mental health sales tax, I believe these slides will cover majority of those. We are looking at ISW program starting again at the year. We already gave the board an update on the annual progress on that. We hit our target goal over 1,000 students. We're hoping we'll hit somewhere near 1,500 to 1,800 this next year. And that's without expanding any new schools. I knew that the last update we gave when we gave the annual report, I discussed possibly expanding due to the challenges with funding. We wanted to hold off on that, get our foothold kind of established in these schools, and then go back to the board on July 1st timeframe to see if there is an availability or flexibility in some of the available funds. As of now, we're going to ask the board to continue that for another year. We'll be closing out again this school year from the last contract, but as we follow the state, the calendar year contract for the county funds, so we come forward to you on the January 1st cycle. Next slide. Similarly, VOA, this is the behavioral health transitional support. This provides to behavioral health support specialists in 2 of their shelter and homeless programs to provide all of the ancillary support that it may not be covered by someone's insurance, or the individuals may not want to seek traditional behavioral health and or other health settings. This meets them where they're at and helps them either get connected with resources so they're not on the street without them, and or help them get connected to a community resource that can help them with housing and or assistance. We'll continue to work closely with VOA as they start up their new programs and their medical respite to kind of partner with them. And how does this look as that new service came on board? The estimated contract cost for the allocated amount was $243,000. We came in much lower this last year, closer to around the $180,000 mark, because they did not have a full position staffed. So their actuals came in a little bit lower. We hope to get that position staffed fully this next year, which we will hit the contracted amount of $243,000. Next slide. Again, this is NAMI. This is another part of the mental health sales tax funding. This provides community support. So we do a lot of treatment and support for individuals with behavioral health conditions. This provides that support and connection with family, with the individual. We recognize families have some challenges with identifying resources in the community, identifying support so that they can get connected, and oftentimes just understand what the behavioral system looks like. That's what NAMI provides. And so this has been a wonderful addition. Not only that, they've been doing a lot of really cool awareness campaigns in our community. And as we look to 2026, we'll also be approaching the board to do more of a mental health week with activities and events for that entire week that's scheduled in May. And we will be hopefully doing a lot of that work on behalf of the county to support that community awareness. So request the board continue that contract. And again, this funds positions to directly engage individuals. So it's very impactful to the community. Slide. As part of the LSIL tax, we also have kind of a legacy program from the RSN and BHO days where we provide step down support to individuals coming out of long-term placements in hospitals. This is to assist them in independent living. So we provide with Sunshine and with the plant rentals, housing supports. We don't pay for the full cost. We subsidize it. These are independent living situations where they have now moved out of supported behavioral health settings, but they still need that additional support where they go and meet with people. They have food availability, or if there's an issue, they have someone who can respond. Although they're not directly on site, they have this ability to connect with that existing resource. It's a wonderful benefit without having a whole comprehensive program like what we do at the Phoenix. We requested this also continue. This is another component of housing supports that we provide to the community to ensure individuals are not homeless and behavioral health impacted individuals stay out of the system where homelessness tends to exacerbate symptomology. So we ask that this continue as well. And with all of our behavioral systems that are in place, we have to track all that data. We have to manage an EMR. This is what our Raintree system contract is. It's coming back up for re-renewal. This maintains all of our data and our providers. It's critical to functioning. And as we've seen, the Workday is absolutely critical to any sort of ability to see from a visible level what's going on. Where's the service is going? How do we ensure that we're meeting the need of the community? And more importantly, how we pay bills, especially to providers. So we ask the board authorize the continuation of the contract with Raintree Systems as well. PATH program. This is a unique one. So PATH program supports transitional housing supports and direct housing through a provider. HCA provides funding directly to the provider. And then as part of a match, the county gives a small portion that actually increases that viable outcomes for those individuals. By able to match that, we actually capitalize and maximize on the resources the state provides. And at the last count, there was over 40-something individuals, can't remember, it was 45 or 48, received this care and remained independent. So for the small amount that we pay, it's a valuable resource to continue to match the contribution that the state is providing. They pay the bulk of it, we just match a small amount of the local dollars. We ask the board to continue to support that match as well.
What's the state portion roughly?
I believe it's about double of that. I'd have to double check since we don't get to see the contract. It's 20 something. Yeah, right. And this is the managed care organization contracts. These are the ones for crisis services I talked about. It's the other part. So HCA oversees the non-Medicaid component and all the support services and involuntary treatment dollars for those individuals. The managed care organization crisis funds pay for those crisis services directly provided to enrolled members. So as a system as a whole, Medicaid pays for about 60 to 70% of our crisis system, not including the involuntary aspect that's directly state funded. And then they also pay for their members when they transition into inpatient or outpatient services. So we asked the board to continue it. We have really great rates. In fact, we're made whole. And this component that we've negotiated directly with the MCOs also includes, as we look towards 2027, the expanded stabilization crisis relief services. So we don't have those final numbers yet, but we are already in discussions with those MCOs to lock those contracts down, which will ensure viability of the crisis relief and sobering center, which is actually kind of interesting that I can assure you that we'll have at least the Medicaid contracts in place. We don't yet have is the non-Medicaid gap that the state has yet to pass any funds for the stabilization services and the crisis relief. So that's still on my bucket to get completed in the next year before the facility opens. I'm confident that will happen, and actually I'm looking at getting good rates for that. But I will say one note of this, we have some of the highest rates in Washington State for the Medicaid crisis services. This is really two parts. We're really effective at ensuring that when we identify services directly applied to a Medicaid member, we report that and bill that. So we're really good at managing data and accurately reflecting it. We're also really good at reconciling. It's something we did from the beginning. So every time we get this bunch of services, we go directly back to the MCOs. We say, here's your members, pay up for your proportionate share, and we get reimbursed. So by doing that from the front end, instead of waiting for our bill to come out, which does require a lot of upfront work, we're ensured that we're made whole every single time that the service is provided. So this has really been effective. We ask the board that provide and approve, continue with these contracts.
Question. In your mind, did we settle on a name yet? For the crisis relief and sobering?
I will leave that to Pat. I have a couple different options. I think he will be moving.
Just checking in on that.
Yes, I think Pat and I have been strategizing as well as Mike on how we will present that. I have my preferred choice. You'll hear that in the future.
People want to know.
Yes, but I do recommend we do finalize a
Okay, all right. To be continued.
Next slide. This is the relatively new program the board actually approved in October, but as the year ends, we're having to renew it. We finalized the contract. Board initially approved $250,000 for this, but as you can see, we actually were able to work with the provider. They came in a little bit lower in the actuals there. Looking at finalizing and completing out a grant that they received. It may change in the next couple of years, but this is actually somewhat of a cost savings for the mental sales tax. So we do anticipate coming back to the board July 1st as we see costs, dependent upon what the need is. For now, it's $180,000, and we request the board continue moving forward with that contract as well. All right, so this was something I teased in the last meeting regarding the Phoenix SNAP. This was a request that I was going to put forward last time, but we needed to have that conversation about the covenant, which still following up with them, they still have not called back with. So still pending with conversation with legal and I on our language to them. However, with increased costs and especially with inflation and insurance, especially for liability, there has been almost an 18% increase year over year for the cost of running the Phoenix. We started somewhere near $435,000 in 2019. They're now looking for an increase up to $645,000 for 2026. So we are negotiating with them. We're probably going to reduce some of the requests in that. A lot of it's replacing aging infrastructure at a facility that includes plumbing, hot water heaters that have pinhole leaks that are damaging part of the roof and interior structure, and then just the wear and tear of each facility. Every time an individual goes in there, we have to redo the floors. We've had to replace carpets. And oftentimes we just we put in like a linoleum or some sort of one of those hardback plastic flooring so that there's a little more durability, but even then they can get damaged. So I don't anticipate the projected cost will hit the 645, but to offset some of it, we are requesting that we, for the first time in the last 6 years, and actually it'll be 7 years by the time it goes into effect, increasing the cost of the rent by 7% of each of the units. Next slide. Although this will only actually be physically felt by a $25 roughly increase for each unit, the individuals, based on the current RCWs and the municipal code, will not actually see that go into effect. It takes 180 days of prior notification to meet the municipal code. So by the time that the actual rent increase goes into effect, most of the individuals in that short-term window for transitional housing will have already transitioned out. So this will actually affect new tenants. This will only provide around $12,000 to $15,000, but it will offset some of that additional cost of almost $50,000 to $75,000 of increase. And we waited for the last couple of years because of just wanting to manage and maintain that, but it's just come to the point where we need to increase that, be more reflective of the cost. And we did so after 2 increases in both the additional assistance that individuals receive as part of their Social Security disability, as well as their ABD. So it does come at a time when they are receiving more. I know costs have also increased, but we think it's reasonable to hit the 7%, which is still under the total amount that we could ask for. This will be something that we'll re-examine in the next couple of years. And it should not affect in any way the existing covenant agreement that we still have waiting to be pended as well. It's still outside of that window. So we recommend an increase beginning in January, notification beginning in January, but effective July 1st of next year.
Any questions for Justin on any of this?
We have 2 more slides.
Oh,
Nice try.
they're not in our packet. So
What is the funding source for the Phoenix Apartments then?
It's been all systems. So we offset the cost of the actual services provided there. The individuals receive behavioral funded services that are paid for through their Medicaid. Okay. And I do apologize, these slides here refer to the original ones. We added those. Part of our update to get those in may have dropped some of those. It was a long packet. But this is just additional information to the topic I discussed earlier. The DD, the provider is We All Matter. So we wanted this to be, we want to see who that new provider would be. The total amount of the funds have yet to be determined, but we are asking that the board allow us to move forward. They have moved past the continuous RFP cycle and then pass all the qualifications for the minimum requirements as well as the states. All funds will come out of the GIA dollars grant and aid from the DDA or DDCS or DDCS, Eligibility Community Services Division. So just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that and proceed forward with that contract, which you'll see in January. And that is the end. Any questions?
we're good.
Yeah. It is, but the good news is the board, you guys got that detail in July, so it's just continuation. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Ben Bradabo about the Voluntary Stewardship Program.
Morning, commissioners. Today, talk to you today about the voluntary stewardship program. Have a couple slides up here. This is just a relatively straightforward matter. Go to the next slide. The voluntary stewardship program is a program that is set up to take care of critical areas within agriculture. So you have the critical areas under growth management, but you have areas that are in agriculture that are challenging to implement the critical areas as we do in urbanized areas. And so this is set up to preserve critical areas, no net loss. And Spokane County chose to go forward with this program and then delegated that responsibility to Spokane Conservation District in 2016. Just recently, we renewed that contract with the Conservation District and received funding from the State Conservation Commission and passed that Conservation District. So what we're doing today is updating the advisory board that the Conservation District has worked with to implement the program. Go to the next slide. It was last updated in 2024, about a year ago. 2 members have stepped down since then. And so the Conservation District went out for applications in April of this year and received 2 applications. And so the Conservation District recommends filling the 2 vacant slots with those 2 staff. It's a staff member from the Conservation District as well as a staff member from the Spokane Tribe. So recommendation is for resolution next week to present that to the board to approve those two vacancies with filled, and then the conservation district will continue with the program. There's a full list of the members that's on in the next slide. The existing members plus recommended new members.
Any questions for Ben? Great, okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, Kyle, solid waste 6-year capital plan.
Morning, Commissioners, thank you. Stepping in for Lindsay Chapman, our solid waste administrator, this morning, as she is across the world right now, so enjoying a little winter traveling. This is just an informational item, as we have, completed our first year of running the solid waste transfer stations. We have now that we are managing our own assets. We have a 6-year capital improvement program that we've been developing. The first couple of years identified pretty well. There's, as you can see right now, we don't have much identified in 2030, 2031. We just still figuring out the timing of the needs out there. But we talked recently about the North Transfer Station tamper and awarded the contract to get that new tamper. The Valley one is likely to need to be replaced next year as well. We also have some stormwater work to do at both transfer stations. They're pretty sediment laden. This is actually funds that we withheld from our previous contractor who was operating the transfer stations, rather than completing their final payment. We withheld some funds for improvements to the transfer station, so that's paying for the stormwater work. We'd rather do that ourselves anyway, so we get a better product. And then as we look into 27, 28, we're gonna have to start hitting our tipping floors. They're pretty worse for wear, so new sealing, probably a grind and a new layer on our tipping floors. It's gonna be tough. It's a 24/7 operation basically, or at least a 365 operation. So whether we have to do that at night, we're closing bays and doing kind of phased pours. We'll figure it out, but that's part of what those floors need to stay protected and be, good for the long haul here. So we'll be starting planning work on that next year and probably do North in 27 and Valley in 28. And then looking at 2029 is when we need to start rolling stock replacements. That's pretty much our front loaders. They do not have a long service life when we put 10 hours a day on them, 365 days a year. But we'll have more on that. We'll probably be looking to acquire those from the road fund and get those last hours squeezed out of them at our pits, and have new low hour machines at the transfer stations. So about 4.3 million identified right now in the first 4 years, and we'll learn more as we go.
With regard to the tipping floor, have you considered or will you consider maybe an epoxy coating over the top of it as opposed to just resealing it? Okay.
Yeah,
They've got
there's
some pretty durable epoxies out now.
There's some pretty cool stuff out there, and it's always changing.
Yep.
When I talk to my contact at CR, he's just every time it's a different product, it seems like, but there's some cool stuff out there. So we'll probably still need to do a surface treatment,
Yeah.
and then look at a good sealant.
Okay. Any other questions for? Okay. All right, very good. Are you doing the zero card? No, here he is. Mr. Zero.
Morning.
Morning.
So I have a short one for you today. This is our 2026 equipment purchase plan for ER&R and our rental rates for ER&R. I think the board knows this is enshrined in state law that we adopt these on an annual basis. So here, to make sure we're checking that box, this first slide is the equipment that we intend to purchase this year. pretty straightforward. It's a mix of light trucks, some Class 8 dump trucks. I think we've talked in the past, really the heart of our maintenance group is the Class 8 dump trucks and the graders. That's the bulk of what we spend money on inside of ER&R, and it's also bulk of what gets our work done out there on the road. So those are very important. Obviously, everything's been switched over to winter operations now, or plows are on our trucks and the graders have their wings on them, hoods on them in case we need to get into residential neighborhoods. We'll see how the winter goes. But the one big thing that we're doing is we're switching our grader fleet over from a rental fleet predominantly to an owned fleet. Reason being, when we analyzed this, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago, rental rates were extremely low on graders. We had a $23,000 per grader per year lease cost, which is incredibly low. We analyzed, and even if we had a 20-year service life on the graders, it was cheaper to lease them than to own them at that time. And we also have a buyout on the backside of a 3-year lease where we can get them for a very good cost. And we're trying to take advantage right now of an opportunity of some of those cheap end of lease buyouts to buy more of our graders. And that's something that we're going to take advantage of. And we're at, I think, 16 owned now, and we're going to add a few more to that number. I think 5 is our current purchase look. And it's a big deal. You know, it's a real opportunity cost for us. New graders are virtually double. The new leases are 45 to 50. The new buyout, instead of being 225,000 is 450,000. So it's really timely to be taking advantage of these existing leases and purchasing these graders, and it puts us in a better position. I think the board's aware, we have very narrow windows on graders that we use them. It's the spring and fall grading of the gravel roads, and then winter operations if we get deep enough that we need road floors in our rural areas. So we use them really intensely when we use them, but in terms of an annual usage, it's very low. You know, we'll keep these graders 15, 20 years, and they'll be in great shape. We have a great maintenance staff. We take really good care of our equipment. So it's a good investment for us. The other items on here, you can see we're going to get a new weed spray truck. We run 3 or 4 of those on the time of year, do a pre-emergent. We also do the herbicide later in the year. So those crews run the entire summer essentially. We have a service vehicle on here. We have some specialized equipment that we'll probably come back and visit with the board more on. These brushing heads and ditching heads that allow us to do a lot more work. They attach to our graders, existing equipment that we have, and they do an incredible job. We can get a lot of work done with those. And that's part of our ditching program that the board was so supportive on and got us the stormwater fees. That's facilitating a lot of that ditching work that we're doing and will continue to do. Also, a big one on here is radios. Our radios are something we inherited from the sheriff's department 15 or 20 years ago, and they were at the end of their lifespan. And it's gotten to be a thing where it's a safety consideration now. The batteries don't last long. We use them in flagging operations, and it's become a safety concern. So we're pulling the trigger on a new radio system for our maintenance group. The ones we've tested out operate extremely well, even in the far reaches of the county, which it's a big county. On the backside of Blanchard and some of these areas where we didn't have service before, we'll have it. So very excited to get that in place for the safety of our crews. We do have a striper on here, obviously a very specialized piece of equipment. We do contract work for some of the other cities and the valley in particular. They're signing and striping, so that'll have some return on it, but it'll allow us to more fully utilize what is a very narrow striping season. As you might imagine, we can only stripe when conditions are right in terms of temperature and no precipitation. And it's been a challenge with our current striper. It breaks down fairly frequently, and it's just time to replace that. So we have that on here too.
This is just from a annual. This is a bigger year for us. And part of that is really related to those opportunity costs, the radios and the striper. When you take some of the big ticket items out of here, it really doesn't feel like we'd be missing out on a huge opportunity if we didn't get those graders. And those are, you know, we can't get them for that price again. So we'll draw down the 501 fund balance a bit, but we have what's in there to cover it. These are, basically, as the road fund uses a piece of equipment, they pay into the replacement fund towards it. And at the end of service life, it should cover the original purchase price. But then you think about what, and so that's all in 501 in ER&R. But then when you think about buying that same piece of equipment 10 years later, then there is a current road fund contribution to that, plus the savings account.
Question on how, when you are leasing the equipment, what's the agreement around maintaining it? Is that on us or on who we're leasing it from?
It's a little of both. We do the routine maintenance, I'll call it, and larger items, repairs are on the lease.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a combination of that.
So when you had those really low rates, that was a really good deal.
Really good deal, because we didn't have the big maintenance cost or exposure for repairs.
Right.
So getting a limit was very limited. Now we have it is nice on the lease too. You get a 3-year look at a piece of equipment to see how it functions. If you got one that was a limit, because that happens, you don't have to buy it at the end of the lease. But we have, this equipment's all been very good. We've been happy with the equipment. Questions on that one? Okay, next slide, please. And then the other piece of it is the equipment rates that Kyle was alluding to, where 110 basically pays these rates. We also do work for a few other juvenile and scraps where we'll have a few light trucks and cars for those folks, but that's a pretty small piece of 110, as you might imagine. The bulk of it, 95+% comes out of 110, the road fund. It gets paid back to Fund 501, the ER&R fund. And you can see here, these are our rates. That first little section, it's hard to read up there, but is for the people that we do work for, motor pool, juvenile, prosecutor, scraps, building and planning. And they just pay monthly rate for the most part. So that's real straightforward for them, easy to budget for them, helps out keeping our folks that maintain the light truck fleet, which includes cars, gives them more work to do and fills out their days, their schedule, but also gives a good deal to our internal folks here. And then you can see the rest of the rates. We analyzed this. There's kind of a factor, the smoothing factor, if you will, a multi-year look that we do on each category of equipment, so that it's recovering itself, and try and keep those as reasonable as possible. Obviously, we're just trying to recover it. We're not trying to make money. It just really takes care of Fund 110. Any questions on that?
We're good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
you.
your time.
All right, Gil is up next. I saw he was in the small conference room. Gina's gonna go get him. All right. Really, if you want to sit at the head of the table there, so we know you're on camera. All right, take it away.
Actually, good morning, commissioners. I'm actually gonna turn this one over to Bruce. This is in relation to the RFQ selection for the design team for the prosecutor's area on the 4th floor of the third floor of the Monroe Street.
Morning. We've worked with the prosecutor's office to come up with a floor plan. That seems to fit the bulk of their services over there. Everybody seems to be happy. We'll tweak it a little bit still. We're anticipating the design fees being well over our $100,000 limit, which is our on-call. So we put out an RFQ to select design teams. We got 4 applicants. We've reviewed those and scored those through the criteria that was posted in the RFQ. And we came up with Design West as the top scoring, most highly qualified. It was a really tight group. There was only a few points between any one of them. So any one of them would do a great job, but they kind of rose above. So we're just here to get you guys' approval to move forward in terms of sitting down with them and discussing scope and having them give us that design proposal, getting them under contract to get the ball rolling.
Any questions?
I would just like to say thank you to Bruce and Gil. They've done an excellent job working with the prosecutor's office. It's not a simple task trying to fit 5 separate locations into one. And there's a lot of moving pieces, and you guys have taken a lot of our feedback. So I really appreciate all the hard work.
No problem. It's sort of fun trying to develop it. At first, it felt like trying to put 10 gallons of feed into a 5-gallon bag, but
Still feels like that a little bit.
yeah,
It didn't say it that way.
no, but it worked out pretty well. I mean, for the most part, and there's still that one whole corner of the building that is, we have a leasee in there now, and I can't remember when their lease is up, but
End of 28.
okay, so.
The countdown clock.
Yeah. So when the time comes, we'll hopefully be able to move your other group in there and have everybody in one spot. But in the interim, this gets 6 out of your 7 groups.
Yes, I think 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Don't say we didn't ever give anything to the prosecutor's office. All right.
Oh, I think Scott's.
Oh, Scott.
Hey, I just wanted to echo, it's been a really great team work on getting all of the moving parts and coming up with a floor plan that would work. Our prosecutor has the unfortunate luxury of being located with their departments in probably 5 different locations across the campus. So this effort actually helps us take individuals out of Broadway Center building, individuals out of the public safety building, combining them into the new Monroe Court building and facility. So the team's done a great job. This design will give us a better idea of what we believe the construction costs will look like. And as you all know, the bonds we're getting ready to sell right in the next couple of days has about $5 million earmarked for on-campus remodel and improvements. So that'll come out of that. But once we have some design back, we'll be able to come back with the board and share what the construction costs look to be. So this is exciting, not a first step, but maybe a third step in the process of being able to get our prosecutor more closely together with all of his various teams.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Sure. Who would still be elsewhere?
Juvenile, I think, is going to stay in juvenile court. Family law is going to stay separate. And there's no room in the inn for civil yet. So Broadway Center, they would be out of there, and they would also be out of the public safety building. So most of the units. Right.
Progress.
Okay.
Yeah, be nice to have everybody in one location.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mike Sparber. EverHealth 1-month contract extension. Just.
Get more of me. I should be here in just a second. You don't see.
You can go down there.
Say that everybody was coming, so.
Lots of people.
Whoa.
Started me to overrun you guys with attention.
I was told to be here, so.
Everybody but the inmates.
That could be ready.
Try to work there.
Over there.
Okay, well, good morning. Obviously, you know this is about an extension with EverHealth for medical services for the transition period. And so I'll let Ken talk about it, and then whoever else from the group you want to talk, Ken.
Sure. Yeah, this should be pretty brief, but as we'd indicated before, as we're working through the medical services contract, RFP, and now we're in contract negotiations, wrapping that up. We'd indicated that, it would be wise to extend EverHealth beyond their originally planned 12/31/25 termination date. Part of that is it's just a terrible time of the year to try to make a major transition. in services. Staffing availability isn't good. But also we want to allow, or at least, let's say 6 weeks of transition period where we could have the new vendor, potentially Medico, in front of you next week, signing that agreement around the 16th, and then giving us that 6 weeks to conduct the planning and the execution for the transition. So today's ask is just to authorize us to move this agreement with EverHealth to extend their termination date out to 1/31/26. And as part of that agreement, they are requesting a 20% increase in their pricing. A little background on that: back in May, they had approached us with a year 2 increase of 35%, which obviously we were concerned with. But at that time, we weren't prepared to say, oh, we're in good shape. We've got a backup vendor coming in and we can proceed. So now that we've essentially concluded contract negotiations with Medico, again, we'll have that to you next week to brief. We feel like we're in good position right now. We talked to EverHealth and they agreed to a 20% increase. So they dialed that back a little bit for the 1 month. It amounts to about a $240,000 cost increase in January, which we can offset a little bit. They've averaged about a $80,000 monthly credit for staffing. They're coming in under normal staffing levels. So let's call it $160,000 extra in January, which we understand will have to come out of the detention services 26 budget. And we think we can accommodate that. So the ask is just to bring this before consent agenda next week for approval to execute. I think Mike is typically authorized to sign these. So questions?
Walter?
Do you think, so I guess you'll brief us next week on the other potential contract. Is that enough time for employees to be made offers and accept those? And I mean, is that kind of planned for Medico to try and retain as many staff as they can?
It's a great question. So as part of this, in the letter, you'll notice that they make reference to the fact that they're authorizing the new vendor to talk to those existing staff members. So they've been doing that. They've got open applications and they've been receiving applications. I think by last count, about 40 internal staff of the roughly 50 had already applied. So that's great news. Continuity, right? We get to keep some existing staff, hopefully, a good chunk of them, hopefully. So yeah, they're actually visiting this week, Medico, to meet with applicants, go through interviews. So even though we don't have a signed contract, there's some good faith going on and they've kind of moved forward with some of those efforts. And EverHealth has approved us doing that.
I guess it would have been, if we could have been briefed on the new contract at the same time, is this just to make sure it's a little bit ahead of, the final contract negotiations, just to understand if we're on the same page with that contract, right? That we're getting everything we want out of it.
I can tell you, and again, we'll brief next week, but we're pretty pleased with everything we see in the contract. We're going to have service level wise at or better service level, FTE head count, cost. I mean, pretty pleased with where we're at, given the circumstances we were in 6 months ago.
In the waiver, 11/15.
Correct.
They're agreeing to help us implement that.
Okay.
So far. Nothing's signed on the dotted line.
No, and that's, next week we'll be going through that, and I just want to emphasize too with this, there's been a really robust transition plan that has been kind of worked out through this consistent meetings and work Ken's been doing a lot, and in conjunction with detention services, coordinating with Medico and also with EverHealth to arrange for this transition, to get everything online, get together a really solid pricing structure that I think we'll see looks quite a bit, it will look significantly better. And a lot of opportunities. Medico's been, really good partner so far to work with. They've got some very experienced leadership in the medical field, correction medicine, and really easy to work with, really fair to work with. So
we're looking forward to present that and just note the amount of hard work that's been going in to make this as smooth a transition as possible and as fast as possible with a well thought out plan that addresses all the different staffing needs, all the different surrounding support services, structures, technology, and everything needed to make this happen. So. Okay, well, we'll see you back next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys,
It is. Thank you. Thank you.
Next time, bring the team.
Yeah.
everybody.
All right, Jim Amacio. Special Deputy Prosecutor.
Thank you very much. I should have, thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. I'm looking at Commissioner Jordan because if I remember right, Commissioner Jordan is the attorney who's assigned to Martin Hall.
I'm getting a call. I don't think.
Every year he tells us he's gonna fix this
Yeah.
little problem. Yeah,
We
come
know
on.
who the backup is, so.
As the board is
Yeah.
aware, this afternoon on your 2 o'clock consent agenda, you have in the matter of approving the 2026 budget with Martin Hall. And just to refresh your memories, the amount that's set forth in the documentation we've received from Martin Hall has been included in the juvenile department's budget, which you adopted yesterday. But I've been asked to briefly update the board on it. And I'm looking at Commissioner French and the other board members because they're very familiar with the Martin Hall situation. As the board is aware, in 1996, the Martin Hall Consortium was formed. It consists of 9 counties. And the purpose of the consortium was to maintain and operate Martin Hall for the benefit of some of the smaller counties who didn't have juvenile detention facilities. Under the agreement that all the 9-member consortiums signed, they're responsible for paying on an annual basis the budget approved by the Martin Hall Consortium based upon the number of beds which they have purchased. Spokane County has purchased 5 beds, so our proportionate share of the budget is 18.519%. The interlocal agreement that the Martin Hall Consortium adopted basically says on or before August 1st, the Martin Hall Consortium shall meet and prepare a budget. And then once they prepare the budget, they send it to the respective counties for them to review and adopt. The Martin Hall interlocal agreement goes on to say, however, that upon each member county's receipt of the budget, they are required or they must adopt the budget. And remember, the budget has been approved by a representative designated by each of the 9-member counties to be on the consortium board. And so I'm looking at Commissioner Jordan. I know that he's very familiar with this budget. We don't have really any options with regard to the budget. Let me say a couple of things. I did look at the budget myself, and the budget is pretty similar to a general budget that we would have in our own home. They're charging $250 a bed day to each of the counties based upon the number of beds they've used. They've taken that revenue plus some additional revenue that they got to take a total revenue. And then they've subtracted, if you will, their expenses. And there's actually a deficit this year of $148,000. But they have a cash reserve of $600,000. So they've subtracted that, if you will, deficit from the cash reserve. I questioned whether or not the cash reserve of $600,000 was appropriate, and it is. It's about 2 months operating expenses. And just like the county, Martin Hall keeps 2 months operating expenses. So the reason I'm here today is simply to update you on the budget document that I've checked with our budget department with. One of the other issues that's come up before, and I'm looking at Commissioner French and the other board members, there's always been an issue about including in the budget capital expenses. And the reason being is because arguably they're not maintenance and operation expenses. And if something's a maintenance and operation expense, there's a different approval process. So I took the liberty of just talking to your budget office, and they confirmed that the items identified in the budget, which has been approved as capital, that's OL expenses, are in fact not AL expenses. So they are appropriately maintenance and operation expenses. So I'm here simply today to indicate that it's very problematic for the board not to approve this under the interlocal agreement that's in place. And I will remind the board members that this agreement is in place for 50 years until the consortium, by joint agreement, all of the 9 members, agreed to disband the Martin Hall.
So 50 years, which started when?
In 1996, Commissioner.
Oh, I thought it was back in the 80s.
No.
I thought we were getting close. Oh.
Only
Already at 46. I thought okay.
We won't live long enough, 20 years to go.
I thought it started before.
We're over halfway.
Commissioner French?
So for as long as I've been here, we have just said no. Because we do not have to approve the budget. By approving the budget, we agree to being part of this consortium. But we can also just say no, and that's historically what we've done every year since, for as long as I've been here.
I think Commissioner French, you made 2 statements. You're correct. The Board of County Commissioners has from time to time voted no on the budget, but they've always, when push comes to pull, directed the budget office to process the necessary warrant to pay Martin Hall. And Commissioner French, I would just say this, because I know you've raised this question. This is the language out of the interlocal agreement, which was executed before you were on the board. The Board of County Commissioners of each member county must approve the operating budget in writing. Such approval will constitute a general obligation on each member to appropriate to the operating fund the amount specified in the operating budget. So you're correct in what you said, and Commissioner French, as I've stated previously, 1 year you were successful in causing the Martin Hall Consortium not to bill the county for that. Now, this was 2013.
Clearly. You know what, now show you up. You had years to do this.
The only one who can do it.
But Al, that was 2013, I believe, Commissioner French, but I only have it. So it's on your agenda this afternoon, board members.
To add a little flavor to what he just said, what we've decided in the past is that Martin Hall cannot direct us to commit a legislative act, and approving the budget is a legislative act and stuff. So while it can say whatever the heck it wants to say, it's not defensible. And so that's why we just historically said no. And then the budget office pays it because we don't have a way to say to get out of it. So, but
we take a principled stand.
We take a principled
But we gotta
stand.
write the checks.
That's right. Yes, exactly. So somebody comes along and gets us out of it.
There was some talk earlier this year about another county being interested in some beds. So I was hopeful maybe we could, I think it was. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
It was
Franklin is
Oh,
located.
Franklin.
Franklin, I know is located.
Yes, it was Franklin, but, so I was kind of hopeful against hope that we could swap out with them, but those conversations seem to have petered out for now.
Yeah, you need to have a change in the makeup of the Martin Hall board before they will agree to get rid of us. And
We're a cash cow.
yeah, we're cash down and stuff, but the primary objector to us leaving is going to be out of office the end of next year. So 27 gives us hope.
Well, as Commissioner French, I think Commissioner Kearns, you also recall, the state law was set up, so Martin Hall is not run by the Superior Court. It's run by a separate entity, and it's the only juvenile detention facility not operated by the Superior Court. So when the county wanted to get out, the other county said, well, you can't get out because then which Superior Court would operate Martin Hall. So the county commissioners amended the legislation to reduce the population of the counties comprising the Martin Hall Consortium. So if the county ever backed out, they could still operate Martin Hall by a third party and not by the Superior Court. So over these many years, the board has tried to set up a mechanism where Spokane County and other counties could potentially withdraw from Martin Hall, but Martin Hall could continue for the smaller counties.
Just talking about Martin Hall is gonna require more therapy. I mean, it just.
So,
all right, well, we'll circle back to this after the holidays. But we'll take an action today at 2 o'clock on this, so.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. All right, Scott Simmons. Second
Yes.
addenda on private road use agreement.
Yes, Tris, if you could pull up the map, I want to just make the board aware of where this is located. As it's coming up, board, you're aware that the county has various sites that we both own and lease for emergency communications towers throughout Spokane County. This one particularly, and a number of them actually have easements through private property that we have road maintenance agreements with those property owners. This agreement, I believe, goes back, over 10 years, back to early 2011, maybe. And the agreement was set up such that it's a 15-year agreement, as I recall. And each of the 5 years, you'll see at the bottom of the map, this is the TECO location. It's actually located outside of Spokane County, just on the border, but it provides a lot of coverage out in the sprawling hills and farmlands out there and communities, and that's a high point for this particular tower. So we have a road maintenance agreement. The agreement itself called for every 5 years, there would be an addendum to increase the price by a set amount in the road maintenance agreement. And this is the third of the end of the 5-year renewals, if you will. So the price is already established in the agreement as far as an increase goes. This would just renew it. This is the last of them. So after another 5 years, we'll have to renegotiate the agreement. It's actually a joint agreement with Whitman County because they have assets up on top of that mountain as well. So we share in the cost of the road maintenance agreement. I believe the price is going up to about $6,900 a year. So half of that is about $3,500. And these are funded from our 911 sales, emergency communications, sales and use tax.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Okay, that brings us to miscellaneous matters. I see the first one on here is various Doofy account closures. Who's leading off on that?
That should be Jeff or no.
I heard Doofy.
Go for it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chrissy and I were sidebarring.
Oh, it's all good. This is the Doofy account closures.
Yes. Mr. Randy Bischoff, my predecessor, told me I'd be a smart man if I got the Doofys closed. So we do have 5 of them in your packet. These are all Doofy accounts that the departments, everybody's in agreement, are no longer being used. So you have a prosecuting attorney, Doofy, around gang awareness, resistance education program. They don't expect to receive more revenue in the future. The township cemetery, Doofy, goes back to 74. That one is another one that it's empty, can be closed. The sheriff forfeitures, Doofy. There's still multiple sheriff Doofys, but this particular one would be closed. The prosecutor's gambling enforcement, Doofy, in relation with the Washington Gaming Commission, and the parks sponsorship, Doofy. So these are all historic Doofy accounts. They've been taken down to 0. No one, auditor's office, budget office, and the individual departments do not expect to use them anymore. So this would take us down to, I believe, 15 remaining youth fees countywide. You guys are okay with this, they would be on next week's agenda.
And they're already at zero.
They're all at zero.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like we're good.
And then can I add one other item?
Go for it. You have some executive sessions. I'm gonna try
I'll
to
be
get us
quick
out on
if you're
time.
quick.
Go for it.
The legislative agenda, which I thought I put on today's agenda, but somehow missed it. I'm then preoccupied with budget.
All good.
Um,
We heard something about that. That's great.
the next Wednesday, we are working with our state legislators, the delegation from the 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 9th districts. To go over this, it'd be in the afternoons, all on all your calendars. It'd be right before the GSI legislative event, which without people timing, so we can involved. So if you guys want to take a formal action on this, we need to get on next week's agenda. I don't know that we have to have a formal action if the board just is here. So this is what you saw before with the edits that were requested. And then the 1-page handout on Lutheran Community Services. And it was at Commissioner CUNY's drop. They did send it to both Scott and Commissioner CUNY via email. Believe it was Commissioner Waldrop that requested that we would look at putting this also. It's not us, it's really us just supporting their request, but putting a little bit more daylight on that request. And so we need feedback on the Lutheran Community Services, Victim Advocacy and Education Program language. And if there's other things that we're seeing, I'll pause there and then we'll do a quick talk on waste energy.
This seems like a worthy program from a formatting standpoint. I mean, as we see, we go all the way to the end. Would
Trust
it,
me, I've already had that heartburn I had to get over.
I know, well, no, I'm just wondering, would it be more appropriate, since this isn't actually a county ask for us to put this on county letterhead? A letter of support signed by all 5 of us that we then
That
send
they could just pass
to the
out.
legislators.
Could certainly be.
You know, rather, I mean, because I think everything else in here.
I did
is
look and
actually-
I saw there were a few that only have 1 or 2 words on the
Okay.
last line. And we could wordsmith. Try to find room, but your approach would also work and save formatting time.
I think there's a few things on here that are other organizations requests, like Nova Hilliard.
But that's PDA driven.
Yeah.
Bellevue. Certified. Yeah, there's the Bellevue water.
Anyway, I wonder if it could be short significantly, and we could just have
We could go through and have AIs just reduce everything by 10%.
I don't know that we need all background about how many clients are served, et cetera,
I
but
think it's
just
just something victim advocacy services.
support increased funding.
It's not
You
just
destroyed
Lutheran,
this.
I think there's other victim advocacy groups as well.
Yeah, I think we could probably squeeze it if we just shorten it significantly.
I can agree with that.
I'm good either way.
I think there's some extra.
But I don't want to go
space
another
in there.
page. I agree.
No, we gotta fit it. We gotta
Squeeze
fit
it in.
But I think we could also reduce Nova Hilliard and gain a line. We can format. I have total faith in Sanchez on that, you guys.
Anybody have any objection to that? Including it? No?
And then would you like this to be on your consent next week as an official? I think we should.
Yeah.
We beat it up long enough. Let's get it done.
So then the other thing that Chrissy and I were just sidebarring on, waste to energy. Right now, we have the request in as an exemption. It sounds like the city is looking for a deferral. Do we want to align our wording there for a unified approach when it comes to waste to energy?
I thought Mike Burgess was supposed to call them and iron that out, but I would say let's be in alignment. I heard from the mayor that they're changing their strategy to be like a delay rather than an exemption. Because they're looking at different technologies. I think the carbon capture and sequestration, or whatever it was, but looks really expensive. So there's an alternative. Anyway, so I just think we should be in alignment. I'm happy to run the language by them and make sure it's in alignment.
If you guys are good with an alignment along that general train of thought, we'll get that hopefully done in the next 24 hours. So I can get it to Gina anytime the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, the exemption was down on arrival. The other side of the state's not, there is an exemption, so. Trying to change it makes a lot of sense.
As you well know, my previous boss was a huge waste energy.
We tried on the exemption.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you. Any other miscellaneous items? Scott?
There's an item on your agenda this afternoon regarding the Marshall landfill. This is a privately owned landfill. It's about 3 parcels. It is property that's currently under MOTCA enforcement action for cleanup. And these properties, the property taxes have not been paid. And the county has a couple of adjacent parcels that are owned, I believe, by our roads department. They're mineral properties. A tax foreclosure, if there's no bidder for this, it would come back under ownership of the county as tax title property. We don't want to own this property. This is a property that is I believe actively being worked with Ecology for cleanup efforts. As our legal team, I believe, is evaluated, if we did become tax title owners of this, we would not be obligated for the cleanup. However, there would likely be significant cost to secure this property and fencing. And Kyle, how many acres is this? You remember? It's quite a bit.
23?
Yes.
23 acres. So our proposal to the board, the outstanding taxes, I believe, are under $4,000. That's including fees from the treasurer to run it through the tax title process. So we would recommend that the county pay those taxes to keep the responsibility with the private owners and protect our citizens from having to incur more taxpayer funded expenses for all the securing and the work being needed to be done for that property. And Kyle, please, if I missed anything or left it out, offer some additional details.
Just that these properties came up off of a little bit of a mistake. They are assessed at no value because they in a sense have negative value. So they shouldn't be coming back anytime soon. I think the only fees are the weed control and the
Conservation Futures and
Yeah.
one other.
Yeah, and Conservation Futures has actually been asked to review it and consider removing it. But either way, it's shouldn't be coming back for some years because it has to accumulate a certain amount of tax liability before it goes to tax title.
I think Kyle, Scott, if I could offer a couple of things, I handed out a map to the Board of County Commissioners. And Matt, if I could have you hand this down to Kyle. And board members, if you're looking at the map, the property outlined in yellow or orange, if you will, is the Marshall landfill as the case. And you'll see in adjacent to the property, the 4 parcels that are identified there, there's property in blue. The property in blue is owned by Spokane County. And so, Kyle, we are looking very closely at what Ecology is doing on the Marshall landfill site, because the property outlined in red on the blue is where the Marshall landfill property is sloughing off into the county property. So we're working with, we'll be working with Ecology on that. I should say one other thing, as Kyle pointed out, the property owners who own this property at one time deposited approximately $540,000 with the health district in conjunction with cleaning up the Marshall landfill. Unfortunately, some issues came up, so the money, they no longer have the right to look at that money. This is an orphan landfill, so the Department of Ecology is cleaning it up with their own money. They did a remedial investigation, and the initial costs, according to what Deborah Firkins found out in looking at the file, is around $5,400,000 to potentially clean up the site. And I think Kyle correctly stated this. Although the county, when we acquire property at a tax foreclosure sale, are not responsible for any remedial action unless under ownership, we exacerbate or augment the contamination. We don't think that's gonna happen, but we don't want to take that risk. And more importantly, Deborah Firkins has advised, even if we have no obligation to clean up the property, we have to secure the property as holding in a tax foreclosure sale. And of course, whatever, if we did acquire the tax foreclosure sale, we'd have to work with Ecology right now because they're doing a cleanup on the property. I don't want the county commissioners to sign any restrictive covenants as owner of the tax foreclosure sale, or have to work with Ecology with regard to this site as it exists. So I think that's why Kevin's staff and myself are recommending, Kyle's staff and myself are recommending that we do pay the minimal taxes on these 4 parcels of property to take them off the tax foreclosure sale. And so we don't have to incur any potential exposure whatsoever with regard to the parcels.
Mr. French? So is this one of the sites that was declared a Superfund site?
I don't know. I don't believe it went all the way to Superfund.
I don't think, Kyle, pardon me, I think you were correct. It's a MOTCA site.
State, like the
And
state.
the Department of
superfund,
Ecology
yeah.
is responsible for the cleanup, Commissioner French.
Yeah, the challenge is that the state is underfunded MOTCA.
Yes.
So, the chances of it getting cleaned up are slim and none. But if we could, if we declared Superfund site, at least then we could go after some federal money. Through EPA.
There's so many landfills out there. I don't know how you would.
Well, some of them are already declared Superfund sites.
Are you aware if they are actually doing cleanup? Or is it just?
They're
slate?
RA, they're not doing the feasibility, the clean yet, Commissioner. They're in the process of doing the study, but they haven't moved forward to the cleanup.
Then they'd have to
And of course,
activate funds for the.
As, when we acquire this property tax foreclosure, here's an example. I'm advised, Kyle, that garbage blows off the site. Well, it blows on the adjacent property owners. So if the county were to acquire the property tax foreclosure sale, we'd have to be kind of doing that kind of stuff, and that takes time and staff and public resources to do it.
So what you're asking is that we authorize the paying of the back property taxes, so it doesn't end up on our books.
And one other thing that Kyle mentioned, the property taxes are really zero because the assessor's office said this property isn't worth anything. But they can't erase these assessments by these smaller, the Noxious Weed Control Board and others. Now, Department of Natural Resources, they took their lien off of it, but the others haven't yet.
Okay.
And then finally, as Kyle indicated, when properties are put on a tax foreclosure sale, when you give notice to the owners, you have to do a title report. And the title report's based upon the assessed value of the property. So at the time, the title reports were ordered for these properties, the assessed value hadn't been reduced to zero. So that's why we have to pay a little bit more toward the total costs to take it off the tax foreclosure sale.
So is this something that would be on a consent agenda then?
It's on the consent agenda this afternoon.
Okay.
And I think it was Kyle's determination and Matt's and Scott's that we discussed this in open session. This is not the first time we've done this, board members. In 2007, we also paid the taxes. And then after that, the assessor's office put a zero value on the property. And for some reason, it was later on, they put a value on the property and then they realized they shouldn't. So now there's no property value on the property. So this shouldn't happen for quite a while. And legally, we've
There
done
it
this
is.
with
I
this
see.
property, and we've done it with also the Beck property, which some of the board members will recall, which was a piece of property which had a gas station on it and a repair shop. And but actually, somebody actually bought that and they're moving forward with it. So unless there's other questions, Mr. Vice Chair, that's all I have to say on this, unless the board has any concerns.
Just keep us in the loop on what develops over the next year.
We will. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other miscellaneous items? Okay. Executive sessions, right?
3 executive session items today. They are all pending in potential litigation. There's no action anticipated at the end of any of them. The first one, 30 minutes in attendance. I'd like the board, Scott Simmons, Matt Folsom, Ashley Cloud, Jeff Morris, Mike Sparber, Josh Grote, and Devin Kurta. In the second one, 10 minutes, Matt Folsom, Scott Simmons, Jeff McMorris, Devin Kurta, Caroline David. The third one, Matt Folsom, Scott Simmons, Jeff McMorris, Devin.
And how long for that third one?
20 minutes for an hour.
Okay.
Does any of those include Chris and mine?
Yes, the last one.
Okay, we'll be going into executive session for the reasons stated for 1 hour. It is 11:20. And then at the conclusion of the executive session, we will adjourn for the morning. We'll reconvene this afternoon at 2 p.m.